And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions Studios on this Friday night, a finally Friday, May 29th, 2026. Hope you are well. Hope you are happy wherever it is you may be watching or listening to us tonight. First and foremost, make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can do so at Last Row Podcast on both platforms. Like it, subscribe it, love it. Make sure you don't miss an episode. If you want to follow us over on X or Twitter, whichever you prefer to call it these days, you can do so at Last Row Podcast. Check us out on TikTok and TikTok Live at last.row.podcast. Make sure you also check out our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. That is where you can find links to all of our sponsors, including our good friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling, as well as Forever Finds Thrift. Big thanks to both of them. Support. All right, welcome in, everybody. Hammer, good evening. Welcome into the show. Glad to see you. Richard, I saw Hank was here. Julia, Adam, Megan. I've seen multiple people in here already, so good to see all of you. So happy to be back with you. Josh, good evening. So happy to be back with all of you here on this Friday evening. What a week that we've had. And you know what? It's been a short week, short work week per se, but a long week nonetheless. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Let's get the weekend started right, shall we? And so we do so by talking about the world in sports, because that's what we do here. We give you a fan's perspective on sports. And it is 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, which means we are set and ready to go. Currently, right now, we have underway game number 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it currently features the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes. Tonight's game is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the Hurricanes are up 5-0 right now at the end of the second period. This has been a brutal last, I would say, 3 games for the Montreal Canadiens. And the Hurricanes have just come out and dominated. And let's just be honest here. They are absolutely dominating. They are doing what they are supposed to do. And they are showing why they are one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. Will, good evening. Grace, good evening. Lewis, good evening. Des, hello. Welcome in. And if you are in TikTok tonight, on the TikTok live chat, make sure you share the show. Rocket, good evening. Make sure you also check us out on YouTube and YouTube Live. Big Bill, good evening. Glad to see you. Gail, welcome in. Glad to see you here this evening on Friday night. And the mood is right for the Last Row Podcast. All right. So let's go ahead and let's talk here and let's dish a little bit, if we can, about the NBA. And we're going to start here tonight with the NBA because you've got Game 7 tomorrow night. And Josh, good evening. Welcome in. Gerald, good evening. With the NBA, Will, hello. Keith, hello. With the NBA Western Conference Finals, and we've talked here. Adam, good evening. Willie, good evening. Yeah, no J-Dub for the Thunder, I know. And that's part of the reason why I want to talk here. Johnny, good evening. Welcome in. Warriors, hello. And I will try to say hello to everybody. Chester, good evening. Welcome in. I will say this much right now for the Western Conference Finals, and I've said it for the last few nights. This is absolutely the NBA Finals. The Thunder have awoken Victor Wembanyama. They allowed Wemby to get back in this series. They had a chance to put the Spurs out, and they didn't. And now that they are in this, heck, good evening, welcome in. George, good evening. Now that the Spurs are back in it, now that Wembanyama has been awakened, either way, the monster's awake. Make sure you guys are sharing the live, please, if you don't mind. now that he's awake, and now that the Spurs have life, and it is Game 7 tomorrow night, I'm very worried if I'm a Thunder fan. Yes, the game is back in Oklahoma City, and that helps. Blaze, good evening. Welcome in. I understand that everything is good in Oklahoma City, but I will tell you this much: if they allow, if and Bill, you're terrified. I get it, being a Thunder fan. I totally understand where you're coming from. Because Game 7, anything can happen. A bounce of a ball can go the wrong way. You could have Evie Otto Cowan welcome in. You could have a number of different, you could get foul trouble early for somebody. Anthony, welcome in. You could get foul trouble for, SGA or Chet Holmgren or Hartenstein. Alex Caruso needs to have a big night for the Thunder. And Caruso, look, the Spurs have done a really nice job on Caruso over the last 2 road games. And Big Bill just said it. They're bad on the road. And I get it. I absolutely get it. And the Spurs have been able to do an okay job overall in the playoffs on the road. But the fact that Wembanyama has been so dominant, for lack of a better term, I mean, you look at Game 6 last night, and you look at the previous games. He has all of a sudden, and we talk about this. Bear with me here, guys, 1 second. Bear with me here 1 second, please. Little technical issue. Bear with me here, folks. I appreciate your patience here. Give me a quick moment here, folks, okay? Let me see here. All right, bear with me here, folks. Quick second, as we are currently trying to figure something out here. We've got a little bit of an issue happening, so bear with me. Let me see here real quick. I do apologize. Actually, wait a minute. I just thought about something here. Apparently, I'm being restricted again. And I don't know why. To be completely honest with you, I have no clue as to why. I'm not doing anything incorrect. I'm not doing anything wrong. But somehow or another, I am being restricted for, according to what TikTok is saying, unoriginal or reproduced content. And I have zero idea why. And to be honest, I'm getting pissed off about it, if I'm being completely honest with you. So bear with me here. All right, I'm going to take a picture here real quick so you guys can just chill for a second. Okay, give me a second here real quick. I have to send this to somebody here at TikTok, so bear with me. Come on. All right, so give me a quick moment here. Now that I have sent that to who I needed to send it to. Okay, we're going to appeal this. Let's see what they say when we appeal it. Okay, hopefully everybody can see me. Sorry about that. And sorry about that little hiccup there. Okay, so we're going to have to do some editing here on the fly real quick, so I do apologize here. Let me go ahead and get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of this. And we'll see what that does. All right, so anyway, back to what we're saying. McCain's got to have a good night again, I think. And Bill, I agree with you there. I think Caruso, though, has to step up. And Caruso's got to be kind of the straw that stirs the drink. And what I mean by that is he defensively has to be, without question, he's got to be a major factor tomorrow night. Something that was said to me is that they, meaning Oklahoma City, do not have they don't really have a second. They don't really have a second in command. And that to me is utterly shocking. And if Alex Caruso is your number 2, though, here's my problem with that. Alex Caruso is not starting, nor should he, because he gives you a humongous lift off the bench defensively. I think McCain should be starting, personally, like he has been. And I think that overall, with McCain, he has to get involved early. And if he doesn't, then that's a little bit of a surprise to me. And with McCain being an option, if you can get 10 to 15 out of him, that's good. If you can get 10 to 15 out of Hartenstein, that's good. Overall, though, if you can't get enough out of those guys, and Victor Wembanyama has a night tomorrow night, that's a big problem. And if Wembanyama is, if Wembanyama is as deadly as he has been, and let's be honest right now, there is nobody on Oklahoma City that is able to stop him. And for Victor Wembanyama, this is kind of his coming out party in these playoffs. And I'm sorry, but the Chet Holmgren matchup on him, no good. No good whatsoever. And the Chet Holmgren, is this, and Chet Holmgren is that, and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, I don't see it. And I don't agree with it. And I think that overall, there's a number of different things here that are happening. And I'm wondering if Wembanyama is tired at the end of games. If he is tired, that's a problem for San Antonio. But the way San Antonio is playing right now, I'm very concerned if I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. And the fact now that you have allowed it to get to Game 7, that's the part to me that is That's the part to me that's very worrisome. And you didn't do what you needed to do in San Antonio when you had a chance to lock them up and get them out of the playoffs. On top of that, now news that broke earlier today that Sean Sweeney, the defensive wizard of the San Antonio Spurs, has accepted the Orlando Magic's head coaching job. He will remain with the Spurs through the remainder of the playoffs. So if that's tomorrow night or if that's into the finals. But the bottom line is Sean Sweeney is now leaving the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I wanted Sweeney as the Bulls head coach. I'm not going to deny it. I think he's the next Tom Thibodeau. So if you can't get the next Tom Thibodeau, go after the original. I don't want some newbie at this point that's not proven. Now, there is a guy that is that they are looking at through or from the Miami Heat, and that's Chris Quinn. And I would be okay for the Bulls looking at him. He's Eric Spoelstra's right-hand man. That's a guy that's been around the Heat culture for a long time. He's very, very good at developing players. I'm okay with that. I also want Tom Thibodeau. And if I can get Thibodeau to come back home to the Bulls, I think the Bulls are going to be an instant contender in the East. I just do. I don't want some of these other candidates that I'm seeing. I don't want a guy that's been in Cleveland. I don't want a guy that's been in Charlotte. Give me somebody that's got a track record of being in a winning environment. And I'm sorry, a guy from Kenny Atkinson's staff, I don't want. I just don't. Big Bill says, if we want to win, SGA needs a 30 ball. I don't think necessarily a 30 ball, Bill, but I think at least a 25er. 25 to 29, I would say. Because of the fact, then that means he's going to get other guys open. Maybe 29 or 27 and 10. 10 assists. If he can get 10 assists, that means somebody else is having a good night. And if that means that somebody else is having a good night, then guess what? That's a good thing to have. That's a good ratio, if you will. But I believe that overall, you've got a number of guys that are, without question, needing to step up big time for Oklahoma City. Chet Holmgren is going to be looked at in this series as being part of the problem because he can't defend a 5, even though he's 7'1", and he can't defend a 4 because he's too skinny. So you have to be able to, you've got to figure out a way that you can make yourself better than what you are. And I believe that overall, the San Antonio Spurs have to, if the Spurs want to win this game, Wemby's got to be the factor. You've got to have Wemby, Vassell, and Castle leading the charge. I wouldn't want Giannis. If I'm Oklahoma City, absolutely not. No way. You're getting a guy that's injury-prone at this point in his career. You're getting a guy that doesn't play defense, really. You're trading one old guy for a young guy, and that's not Sam Presti's way. And I believe that overall, if the Thunder want to be competitive, Chet Holmgren's got to add 25, not 25. Chet Holmgren's got to add 10, 15 pounds at least of muscle. Has to. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing. And it seems to me like he's playing scared. And if he's playing scared, if he's playing frightened, that's a big problem. Jaffs, good evening. Welcome in. Again, I think that if he's playing frightened or scared, that's a huge issue. And look, it's a bad matchup for anybody. The only way that I think that you get better in that matchup is if Wembanyama is playing down on the post and you can have a big guy on him and kind of bodying him and getting him tired, or vice versa on the offensive side for Oklahoma City. If you had a true five that could post up and bang into him and get him tired, that's good. Now, I agree with you. I think that overall, Caruso has done the best job out of anybody. I think that the problem with that is that there's such a height difference that you bring, Holmgren over to double and it doesn't work. And then you have issues. And then you have problems. And then there's a number of different things that are happening that can go wrong. You leave a guy open for three, they nail it, right? So for anybody in the Western Conference, you have to have somebody that can body up this guy. That's the only way you're going to get him tired out. It's the only way. Fast breaks isn't going to do it. If you double him, you've got to do it right away when he gets the ball, because the minute that he puts the ball on the ground, that's your chance right there to get him. If you don't, you're not going to. The other problem with Wembanyama's game that I see is that Wemby is not good on his feet, meaning when he gets rolling, he tends to just kind of be like a snowball, and it just kind of goes, faster and faster and faster, and he gets out of control. And he's only getting stronger, Reagan. You're right. And the other part of this, too, that we haven't talked about yet, is the last two games, he has absolutely been dominant. And that means his confidence is up. And that means that he knows, TikToker, good evening. That means that he knows that they can't stop him. So if he makes the smart basketball play, the minute that they send a guard or send somebody else to guard him, to double him, if he finds the outlet to the guy over in the corner or the guy at the top of the key, guess what? That's a three ball. And a three is better than a two in today's NBA. So I am very interested to see exactly how tomorrow night goes. And Reagan, you and I are on the same wavelength. When Wemby gets post moves, when he starts getting post moves down, and he starts getting himself comfortable being down there in the post, it's going to be a very different and difficult player that they have to guard. And I believe that overall you have to you have to figure something out here. You just absolutely have to figure something out. Okay, I just got notification here from TikTok. We have reviewed your live and found that your live content violates our community guidelines. The visibility restriction duration of your live cannot be adjusted. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop this live. I'm going to come back. So Reagan, TikToker, I'm working with somebody from TikTok, and they gave me some thoughts as to why. Because the broadcast looks too professional with the two logos, here that were there and then over here of our sponsors. So what we're going to do is I'm going to end this live. I'm going to come right back with a new live, okay? So come right back, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to come back with a new live, and we're going to go from there and see if they restrict me again. And if they restrict me again, then we're going to have an issue, a big issue. And then this is going to turn into an old-fashioned shoot on TikTok. So bear with me. We'll be right back here on the Last Row Podcast. Stay tuned. All right, TikTok, we are back, and we are back here on the show. Let's see if we get restricted again, shall we? Good evening, Tom Houday. Pema? Is that how you say it? I don't know if that's how you say it or not. Welcome in. Let's see here what we get. Real quick, let's hear from our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling, as we can hear from them here and allow people to come back into the chat. All right. Hockey fans, playoff hockey teaches us one thing: toughness matters. And if your house has taken a beating over the years, cracked drywall, outdated rooms, flooring that's seen better days, it might be time to send in the enforcer. That's where I Know a Guy Remodeling comes in. Whether it's remodeling a kitchen, updating a bathroom, finishing a basement, doing some landscaping, or giving your house a fresh new look, these guys know how to get the job done without the drama. No cheap shots, no blown leads. Just solid work from people who care about quality. So if your home needs a little postseason push, check out a link to their Facebook page on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. Make sure you tell them that the Last Row Podcast sent you, because your house deserves a championship caliber upgrade, and everybody deserves to know a guy. And now you do. I Know a Guy Remodeling. Arturo, good evening. I saw Shatoya was in here a minute ago. Stuart, good evening. Welcome into the Last Row Podcast. Hope everybody is well again. We've been talking about the NBA and Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. We are in Game 5 right now of the Stanley Cup playoffs, with the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals leading the Montreal Canadiens 5-0. And this has just been a blowout from first period on. And they have absolutely been dominating this entire first, the last, I would say, 5 periods. Carolina has dominated, and the Hurricanes have been absolutely incredible. And again, with that being said, you've got a really good team that's finding their skating legs right now. Fishers of Men Outdoors, good evening. Regan, welcome back in. Montreal has not been able to do anything here in terms of their power play. They haven't been able to produce good traffic in front of the net. They have not been able to do much of anything against the Carolina Hurricanes over the last, I would say, 5 periods. And that has been a problem. That's been a very big problem. And again, Montreal is too good of a team to be looking like this. But I think it speaks to the volume of how good of a head coach Rob Brind'Amour has been for the Hurricanes. And for a guy that I don't think necessarily Gobbler welcome in, Brady welcome in, for a guy that I don't know that was ever considered when he was a player to be kind of the player's coach type of thing. He was always a very well respected player, but never a guy that was thought of, I think, as being a head coach candidate after his playing career was done. He's done an amazing job with this team. And credit to ownership. Exactly right, Reagan. Credit to the ownership for sticking with him. He's been knocking on the doors for years. And look, they have, and Carolina has done a very good job with developing talent, with developing players to go along with how they want to build their program. And they have been absolutely incredible to watch. Pop up to a 5, welcome in. Yep, Habs finally got one. I just saw it. Yep. They got 4 more to go in 8 minutes, so a goal every 2 minutes, maybe. I don't think that will happen, though, by the way. But again, you have a number of different guys that on Carolina that are just so good, and they play team hockey very, very well. I think it's going to be very interesting to see the matchup between them and Vegas this year, because I think they're very similar. I think they both skate incredibly well. They play a really good brand of hockey. Both teams do. Carolina, to me, is a little bit older-ish. Power Surge, welcome in. But I think that overall, you have I think it's going to be a hell of a Stanley Cup between Vegas and Carolina. I do. And it's going to be hard to root for either team. And the only reason why I say that is I like Rob Brind'Amour a lot. And I'm a fan of John Tortorella. As much as people don't like him and his act grows tiresome very quickly, which I understand, the fact that he came in with 8 games to go, or 10 games to go, whatever it was, and has been as good as he's been, this is what Vegas has needed. And now he's on the verge of he's got 4 wins, and then it's a Stanley Cup. Hey, Paul, good evening. He's got 4 wins, and it's another Stanley Cup title, and it'll be the first time in 20-plus years that he's had one. And I think at that point he would be vindicated for all of the time that he has spent. And Joe, good evening. BMO, good evening. That Tortorella has been mocked, ridiculed wherever he's been. I think that kind of validates him, in my mind, at least. So I'm looking forward to the Stanley Cup final. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think you're going to have a number of guys that are going to be playing their butts off. But man, Carolina's hard to root against just because of Brind'Amour. Because Brind'Amour was such a good player. And he was a respected player, too. So, and just as an FYI, we have not gotten banned or restricted yet. So maybe that little change of removing the logos there, there and there, maybe, who knows. Cole, good evening. User, good evening. All right, let's talk here a little more NBA if we can. And the reason for that is quite simple. There's the Magic are finalizing the deal to hire Sweeney as their head coach, and that was from Shams Charania earlier on today. Cleveland loses one of their best front office guys, and they lose him to the 76ers. Tony, good evening. Mike Gansey, their GM, will now be the president of basketball operations, and he finalized a multi-year deal today to become the new president of operations for the 76ers. He was brought in by Bob Myers. AC, welcome in. Good to see you. And Bob Myers, as you know, was the architect. Notes, good evening. Was the architect with the Golden State Warriors. And Tradarius, good evening. Welcome in. And this guy was handpicked by Bob Myers. Fish, KVN, good evening. Cincy Reds, welcome in. And I look, I'm wondering here what's going to happen with with Joel Embiid. I'm wondering what's going to happen with, um, you know, Nick Nurse. I I just have to question if Nick Nurse is going to stick around here. And he has risen through the ranks in Cleveland's organization since joining the team in 2011 and 2012, and now he's the top executive position in Philly. And Bob Myers, who's a four-time NBA champion architect of the Warriors, like we talked about, he's the president of sports for Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. He led the search, and he found Gansey. And Myers is going to work closely with Gansey and assist in his vision for this organization for Philly. And I think it's really interesting that Albert, good evening. God's word is truth, good evening. I think it's really interesting that these two guys have Drake May is king. Welcome in. I think it's interesting that Bob Myers is going to be helping to lead this way. Hi, Matthew, 4070. Good evening. Because of the fact that I don't think Bob Myers ever wanted out of the front office side of things. And now that he is back in it and helping to lead this organization in Philly, albeit from a behind the scenes kind of role, with their, with the general manager or the president of operations now being set, I just find it interesting that he wants to be part of it. And I agree, Reagan. I think he gets a lot of the credit for. He gets a ton of credit for the drafting of Steph Curry. He gets a lot of the credit with Nick. Good evening. With firing of Mark Jackson and hiring Steve Kerr. I think that's where his bread and butter was. And I think that overall, he has been, for a long time, he was a respected front office guy for a number of years. And the fact that they were able to, get 4 rings with that crew is pretty doggone good. I mean, look, I think you would take 4 rings in the span of 6 or 7 or 8 years. True Blue, good evening. And goodbye. So I think that overall, you have a really good, team president now in Gansey, who has, been in Cleveland, knows what it takes in Cleveland. I wonder if this means anything in terms of potential Donovan Mitchell movement. Maybe James Harden goes back to Philly, but I doubt that. I'm thinking more Donovan Mitchell. I think that Joel Embiid is a fascinating potential trade chip. The problem with Embiid is he hasn't played more than 60 games, typically in a year. TikToker, welcome back. Rick, good evening. D Whistle, good evening. I just find it interesting that this candidate now may have something here to do with reshaping the 76ers. And if they want to re-up James Harden, have fun. You'll make the playoffs, you won't win a title. Have fun. And he was bad this year, he'll be even worse next year because he's another year older. And he's going to feel entitled to dribble the ball all the way through the playoffs. And it's going to slow the offense down like it did this year. And it's going to be a problem. It's absolutely going to be a problem. So, we'll see what happens with that. I am also and we talked about it at the start of the other podcast that we had to stop because of TikTok's restrictions. So thanks, TikTok. Um, I really don't want the Bulls to get a no-name coach. I just don't. I want the Bulls to go out and get somebody that is either named Tom Thibodeau or Chris Quinn. Chris Quinn being Eric Spoelstra's right-hand man in Miami, has built the Heat culture down there with him. I think he would be brilliant to bring into Chicago to help bring that Heat culture to Chicago. He's done a phenomenal job of developing young players in Miami. So I absolutely would want that for Chicago. Tom Thibodeau, because it's Tom Thibodeau. And he is revered in Chicago. And, blue collar coach. You know what you're getting. You know you're going to get a contender. He's respected still throughout the league by players and other coaches and front office. And I want to see Tom Thibodeau back with the Bulls. I just do. I think what the Bulls did to him was wrong. Much like I feel what the Knicks did to him was wrong too. And I just feel that overall, you have a opportunity to right the wrong here. Real quick scoring update. The Carolina Hurricanes just added an empty net goal. It is now 6-1 in favor of the Canes over Montreal. The Hurricanes are 3 minutes and 41 seconds away from going to their Stanley Cup, or from going to the Stanley Cup Finals and taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Carolina, I think, will automatically be favored in that game. And you see a little smile kind of creep up on Rob Brindamore's face in that. You feel bad for Martin St. Louis. You feel bad for him and for Montreal. No question. And I just believe that overall you've got a big problem with Carolina is just too good. I mean, Carolina is just absolutely too good. User, welcome in. Dope3, welcome in. Jazzman, Den, welcome in. Jazzman, you're not by chance a drummer, are you? I think overall, though, Carolina is just so good. And I think Carolina is going to be a major player, again, for years to come because of how they've built that roster. So we'll see what happens there. All right. One Leaf, welcome in. Let's talk a little NFL because we have OTAs that have started. And I will just say this. That the from what I've been told and what I've seen just in passing social media posts and reports from different beat writers for the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams looks much more comfortable. One Leaf, thank you so much for the rose. I do appreciate that and appreciate the support. Bearded One, welcome in. Good to see you. The offense for Chicago this upcoming season is going to take a turn. And right now in OTAs, it looks very crisp, according to Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune. Yesterday, Caleb Williams had a 67-yard bomb all through the air to, I want to say it was either Odunze or Luther Burden. And that is going to be either one of those combinations are going to be great this year. Bears may be better and have a worse record. Yeah, I think you know what? I think that's just the angle of how things were, and I don't buy it. The other thing too is I saw that it might be AI. when I've seen Caleb Williams at the Cubs game and stuff, he looks like Caleb Williams. He doesn't look like he's had, a few too many, bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch or anything, unlike me. So, but yeah, I saw that picture today. I don't put any stock in that. And hey, if he can still throw, 67 yards through the air, I'm okay with that. On a dime, I'm okay with that. But I'm not gonna, I'm not putting any stock on that. But I did see it, bearded one. I did see that. I will tell you another thing here about the Bears, and what's concerning me is that I don't want. They've got to do something with their defensive edge rushing position, and I don't know who it is that they would potentially sign. I don't know who it is that they would potentially go after, but I'm really hoping that they get somebody in there to make a difference on that defensive line. It's not going to be Grady Jarrett. It's not going to be Gervon Dexter. It's not going to be Austin Booker. It's not going to be Montez Sweat. They've got to have somebody opposite of Montez Sweat. And bearded one, I agree with you. That the One Leaf, thank you so much for the roses. I appreciate that. What I'm looking forward to is seeing how rookie Dylan Thieneman fits in. I think he is going to be a incredible chess piece for Dennis Allen. I also believe, William, good evening. I also believe that you've gotten better at the linebacker position. And I think that overall you're going to have a much better secondary this upcoming season. I feel like the safeties have been upgraded big time. Nothing against Kevin Byard. But Kobe Bryant and Dylan Thieneman, I think, are going to be a really good pair for a number of years for the Bears. The other thing, too, is I think that Ben Johnson is willing to kind of say, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you right here, right now, that my offense doesn't need a top 20 or top, 15 defense. If that defense can improve from 29th overall to, say, I don't know, 17th, I think that's a win. But I will say this much, too. I believe Dennis Allen is on the hot seat. And I said it a year ago. I didn't like the fact that they brought him back. I don't like the fact that he's been brought back. I think there could have been a number of different guys that they could have brought in. The other part of this is that I have to wonder if, just if the New York Jets get off to a bad start and Aaron Glenn is let go, I wonder if Ben Johnson would pull the trigger on bringing Aaron Glenn in, his assistant coaching buddy from the Detroit Lions, to help lead this defense. Big in, Tom, Dr. Thomas, John Lewis, Tim, welcome in. I have to wonder if Ben Johnson would bring in Aaron Glenn as like a defensive assistant, a senior assistant, if you will. Sluggo, good evening. Buffalo Bills fan, good evening. Yeah, Dennis Allen's on the hot seat. There's no question. And I think that overall, Ben Johnson's called him out. And Ben Johnson does it in a subtle way and saying, look, we have to coach better. We have to be better as coaches. And that is without question a massive part of this. And I think Dennis Allen admitted this in the offseason, that he was so wrapped up in the scheme last year that he forgot technique. And so they're getting back to the technique side of it. And it's going to be a second year in the system. And again, I think overall, yes, he's on the hot seat. But if this defense can improve from 29th to 17th or 29th even to 18th, I think that's a win. Now, if they can improve even greater than that by getting somebody on the defensive line to help. There are rumblings that Josh Sweat is on the trading block from Arizona. I don't know how I feel about that. I've also still seen rumors that the Bears are interested in Max Crosby, believe it or not. And I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm all for it. If he's still available, yes. Trade a first and second rounder for him or a first and fourth. Do something to get him because he would make your team immensely better right away, your defense. Then you're not able just to double Montez Sweat and say, okay, bye-bye everybody else. Then you got to worry about some guys. Dayo Adangbo, your free agent signing from a year ago, is garbage. He's horrible. The worst free agent signing I think Ryan Poles has made. And I think Adangbo could be a camp cut or could be a trade block or a trade piece for something else. And I think that would make the most sense for the Bears. Now, OTAs are a long way away from training camp, right? Lots can happen between now and then. And it's a huge jump. And look, if they can get top 25, if they can get top 25, that's a failure in my opinion. Hi Anthony. Yes, I had an accident last week with trimming my beard, and the guard came off of the trimmer that I was using, and thus the beard had to go away. So that's what's new. So yeah. Anyway, I'm excited though because we are super duper close to football season and training camp, and I mean a month from now, when it's near July, oh man, am I going to be jacked because it's football season. We're in the middle of baseball, and if you're in the Midwest and in Chicago, I'll say this much. The Cubs are struggling. The White Sox lose Murakami for potentially a couple weeks, according to Will Venable, which is a huge loss for them. And overall, the Bulls haven't hired their head coach yet. You have rumors flying around about the Bears Stadium because the Illinois legislature has till Sunday at 11:59 p.m. to get something done before the June recess. And the Bears are and the NFL are pushing for Illinois to get something done. A number of people say that 2 days is a lifetime in politics. I sincerely hope they get a deal done tomorrow night. Because if they don't, the Bears lose all leverage with Indiana. And look, they're not going to Indiana. But, yes, Monty, yes. Arturo, welcome in. Yeah, TikToker Murakami has a beautiful swing, but I tell you what, him going down doesn't help them. Him getting hurt doesn't help. I was heartbroken, Monty, when I saw that Sweeney was being hired by Orlando. That killed me today. That absolutely killed me today. Yeah, and there is no other use, Anthony, for it. But I think that if the Bears don't, or if the state of Illinois doesn't come to an agreement here this weekend, the Bears' leverage for Indiana is gone. Because Indiana is putting the pressure on them. It's pushing them to come to Indiana. the Bears have waited so long here to try to get something done that all of a sudden it's going to be a, well, you know what? Indiana's, waiting on us, yada, yada, yada. Illinois, let's see what you can do here. And if Illinois doesn't do it, at that point in time, you have you lose your legs with Indiana. Because then what are you going to say? Well, Indiana's offering us this. Right, so why haven't you gone to Indiana yet? They have no legs to stand on at that point. So I feel that overall, the state of Illinois has to get something done this weekend. If they do not, the stadium talk isn't happening then until the end of June, which would then allow the Bears to explore the site in Indiana, do the land testing, which will come back that the dirt there is toxic because of all the chemical leaks and drainage and all of that stuff. And then that just proves right then and there that the only option they have is Illinois, is in Arlington Heights. And then they can say Arlington Heights has always been the top choice. Thank you to Indiana. We're not going to Naperville. We're not going to Aurora. We're not going to Rockford. We're not going to, downtown Chicago. We're not going to Iowa. We're not doing any of that. We're going to be in Arlington Heights, so on and so forth. No, I don't believe so, Monty. And the reason for that, Kevin Warren wanted to stay on the lakefront. Kevin Warren wanted to stay at the lakefront. The Friends of the Park, the City of Chicago, and the National Historical Society have said no. They are not building next to Soldier Field because that land there is considered historic, and they're not doing it. And they're not allowed to put a dome on Soldier Field because it's considered a national landmark. And Chicago's out. There's no space that can give them what they want. And essentially, they're down to Arlington Heights. And if Arlington Heights doesn't come through here in the next 2 days, in the next 48 hours, then you're looking at a scenario where the Bears are going to be kind of screwed. Because Indiana is where they want to build the stadium at is a toxic dump. It's literally a toxic dump. The soil there would never pass inspection. And they would have to spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to get just the soil re-earthed, if you will. And it would cause too much of a headache. So the toxic dump that is where they want to build in Indiana, or where Indiana wants them to build at, is just not good. Therefore, the fact is that you have Arlington Heights or bust. And that's what I mean when I say you lose all leverage with Indiana if you don't get anything done here this weekend. There have been talk that the Bears, or that the state of Illinois, is going to set aside the mega projects bill and just have a bill specifically for the Bears Stadium, which would thus allow things to move quickly and quicker. That's probably where it's heading, if they can get it done. That's the key. If. The state of Illinois has wasted a lot of time on this. Governor Pritzker, whose main focus has been Washington, D.C., and a presidential bid on the Democratic Party ticket, has, for lack of a better term, screwed the Bears over here. And if the Bears lose, or if Governor Pritzker loses the Bears to Indiana, his White House dream is over. His White House dream is done. Because the Chicago Democrats will not allow him to be on the Democratic ticket. I can promise you that. And that is why there is such a push right now to get this done. And I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're independent. I don't care if you're black, white, red, blue, green, or orange, to take a line from Herman Boone from Remember the Titans. The state of Illinois needs to get this done. Throw egos out the way and get the damn stadium done. Anthony, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't like the upgrade to Soldier Field. I think the upgrade to Soldier Field looks like a spaceship crash landed there. They should have spent the money, and the McCaskies didn't want to. Virginia didn't want to spend, and the kids didn't want to spend it, to put a dome on it. And because that ultimately would have kept the Bears there for years. Now, the problem is that dome and that stadium, they don't own. So the revenue that they would get from August through January, February, that would be it. Any type of concert, anything like that, would be. Wow, Monty, that's a slap in my face. Wow. My gosh. I could block you for that. No, I'm just kidding. You're right, though. I don't think he stands a snowball's chance in hell of getting elected, personally, but be that as it may. But they did not want to spend the money to put a dome and do it right. And they can't tear anything down at that site. They can't do any renovations to the exterior without going through the National Historical Park Society and, Friends of the Park and things like that. So I believe that Arlington Heights is the play. It's the only play. And for Chicago, they have to get it done. And they've got to get it done here. The state of Illinois has to get it done by Sunday. Otherwise, they wait until June, the end of June, and that's a problem. That's a problem. And there's not a future for it unless, and this is what I think will happen, over the next few years, the NFL expands. And there would be an expansion team. There's no reason why there couldn't be an expansion team for the AFC in Chicago. There's none. Therefore, you could have a Chicago AFC team and a Chicago NFC team. You have the Cubs and the White Sox. You have the Bulls. You have the Windy City Bulls. You have the Jets and the Giants. You have the Cowboys and the Texans. The 49ers, the Rams, the Chargers. Multiple major cities. My God, you've got Cleveland and Cincinnati. No offense to Ohio, but, there's absolutely an opportunity there. Arlington Park, you get a Super Bowl, Final Four, presidential conventions. You get all of it. You get WrestleManias. You get premier concerts. You get all of it there. At Soldier Field, you get nothing like it. That's why I think you would have another team that would fit in better there. Indiana, you wouldn't own the stadium until the financial lease is paid for it, and then it becomes yours. And then you would get all the revenue for it. But that would take some years, and that's the same thing that is happening. That happens in Chicago right now. You don't get the money for it until the lease is paid. And the Bears' lease at Soldier Field goes through, I think, 2033. They would pay to break it if they could get the stadium done. Now, I think personally, and this is just me, I think there's going to be a deal done here by Sunday. I think that they get shovels in the ground probably by August, and they're going to try to open by 2030. And they'll be in the running then at that point to host 2031 Super Bowl. Because 2030 is going to be in Nashville. 2031 could be in Chicago. So there's that part of it. So we'll see what happens with that. I am just I am hopeful that the state gets their act together. I am hopeful that the state gets their act together and gets things done for Arlington Park, because that's the best spot. Infrastructure's there. Um, you have, and it's been a dumpster fire, Anthony. You're exactly right. It's been a dumpster fire from the start. There's no question. But you have a number of different elements that would help make Arlington Park, and whether they call it Hallis Stadium at Arlington Park, whether they call it Hallis Memorial Field at Arlington Park, whatever, I don't care. If the Bears are able to get it done and the state is able to get it done, it makes the Bears instantaneously more valuable. And then I think you would see the McCaskies be willing to sell. And that's where I think the McCaskies could sell to, say, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, who wants a football team. What better way to do it than to get the charter franchise of the NFL, the Chicago Bears? Not saying. I'm just saying. Oh, and absolutely they would sell it. Absolutely. But I mean, look. I mean, why not? Why not? Hallis Memorial Field at Arlington Park, brought to you by Chase Bank. Something like that. Or whatever. ARM Media Solutions field at Hallis Park or whatever. I don't care. Again, I think it would be interesting. Oh yeah, the naming right would go first, absolutely. And I think Roger Goodell has put pressure on the state. Goodell and Pritzker have talked. I know that, and they have. Goodell has told him, get this thing done. Get it done. And, again, there's a Chicago connection there between Goodell and Chicago. Yeah, they absolutely do. They absolutely do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've got a final, of course, in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NHL. The Carolina Hurricanes are going on to take on the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 to be determined. Carolina has opened up as the favorite, I believe, already in this. I think Brind'Amour does a brilliant job as their head coach. And I think Carolina will win the series. I think it'll go probably 6 or 7, but I think Carolina wins it. Tomorrow night, we've got the Spurs and the Thunder. I think that the Thunder win. I think it's close. I think it may go overtime, but I think the Thunder win in Game 7. The next Bulls head coach is either Tom Thibodeau or Chris Quinn from the Miami Heat. I believe that's going to be their best option, Monty. I don't necessarily know if it's realistic, but I don't want somebody from BYU. I don't want somebody from Cleveland. I don't want somebody from the Knicks. I want Thibodeau or Chris Quinn now that Sweeney's gone. It's not logical, but on a serious note, I wonder why NFL rules, guidelines that they put on teams to prevent this from happening again. I mean, it could. I mean, it absolutely could. The fact that and how the Bears did it was so backwards. Was so backwards how they did it, and that's on them. And the NFL could very easily say, okay, look, if you want a new stadium, this is what you have to do, and they lay it out the steps, and you go through each single step the way it should be done. That's the way the NFL could regulate it. You're good, Anthony. No worries, brother. I hear you on the long day. It's been a long week too. And speaking of a long week, that's going to put a bow on this edition of the Last Row Podcast. We're going to be back with you tomorrow night for Game 7 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. We may be on even before the game just to kind of preview it a little bit. and I look forward to seeing all of you then. Big thanks to our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling for their continued support of the show, Forever Finds as well. Make sure you like us. Make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure that you check out our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. And until tomorrow night, when breaking news changes everything, I'll see you in the last row.